Keep your eyes on your children. Securely store any personal items. If you have organized fire, don't forget to turn off the flash or phone. Once again, have a wonderful safari. And as we say here in Hanafi, karibuni wako.
Don't touch it. Right here. Wait, go ahead. Our card is behind you. Both sides, lightly. Both sides.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilimanjaro Safari. In order to keep your wait time to a minimum, we ask that you please keep your group.
You want to be on the end, right?
Keep up with the party.
Yeah. So you have to
And with all the available stations. It is not necessary to form a single file line. If you are traveling with a stroller, please have children and animals unloaded before you reach our stroller parking area. If you are traveling with someone in a scooter or wheelchair, please have this person lead your party to the line. This will help you time. Once again, please keep your group together, keep up with the party in front of you, and fill in all the available space.
Six and seven.
Oops.
As our persona has been thank you instantly on the end of the swing of the yard, it is going to be swept down, which means you have to go. Ladies,
Really slide on in, find a comfortable spot to sit. That seat is yours.
My girls soccer, so it's anything
Once you rest on the left hand side of the track first,
Are you guys
on your left, you usually get a really good view from us.
That's funny.
If you're not with the party in front of you, just right behind that yellow lamp, we'll get you on the next truck. On your right hand side, watch your hands, arms, feet, and toes are slide. Please, watch your toes.
Will they let her sit on the outside?
Yeah. She's fine.
Sanjay Sana, thank you so much
wow,
for being here.
on the ninth floor.
Let's go.
Way up there.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. My name is Mickey. That is Mickey like the mouse.
We're in England.
There, please remember times keeping those hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck. If you have a little one on your lap or in the seat next to you, just make sure that they stay in that exact same spot. Don't raise them into the air, pass them back and forth, or let them stand in your lap. This is a real truck. I am really driving it. It's really bumpy out here, so please stay seated even if you can't see an animal. That goes for kids.
So where's Dan from Brighton, I think?
Yeah, he's from way south.
Yeah, he's from like Brighton.
It is a photo safari, so if you're planning on taking pictures, please feel free. Look, these animals are really cool. I've never seen some of them before. Sports or live action mode is your best friend. We can't always stop for all the animals.
Yeah. Apparently I'm learning that now because we were talking about
it. At all times. Hang on tight to all your personal belongings. We can't stop to pick anything up if it falls. If you accidentally drop something, just let me know. We're going to send someone to get it for you. There's just no guarantee you'll get it back in the same condition. These trucks are pretty heavy. Your phones are very squishable, so hang on nice and tight for me. We're about to head into the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Harambe is a Swahili phrase that means to work together. That's exactly what we're doing out here, working together to help these animals feel comfortable. Not just in their homes here on the reserve, but out in the wild as well. Looks like we're getting that phone call from the warden. Now our first stop on the reserve is the Little Italy Forest. A lot of the animals that live out here rely super heavily on their camouflage. So we're going to be looking out in between bushes and plants to see what we can find out here.
It's okay, sweetie.
If you look in that back corner, you'll see an okapi. The okapi might look like it's related to a zebra. It's got some really cool party pants on. It's actually the coolest and only known living relative of the giraffe. They have the same skull shape and everything. Their stripes are there as a natural form of camouflage to break up their colors, make them pretty much invisible to predators. On your left, you're going to see some more forest antelope with stripes. Those are greater kudu. They're some of the taller antelope here in the forest, about 5 feet at their shoulders. You got those really big ears. They can move around their head in almost any direction to help them listen out for predators here in the forest. It's called a panoramic sense of hearing.
Right.
All the plant life here in the forest is super important, not just for the protection of these animals, it also works as their natural food source. So it is really important that we're reducing, reusing, and recycling our paper products. It helps local forests where we live and forests all around the world too. To your right there on top of the hill, you'll see a saddle-billed stork. They're named for the saddle shape that's on their bill. When they stand up nice and tall, they're about 5 feet tall. Their wingspan's about 9 feet wide, which is roughly the width of the canopy above your head. Usually if you see one of those storks, the other one is not too far away. They do mate for life, so they spend a lot of their time hanging out together. They're a little different from other species of birds. They don't really have the ability to vibrate their vocal cords, so they don't really have any songs or calls. So what they do is they'll communicate using the rattling of their bills.
Look at all our followers.
Looks like some more forest antelope on your left there. A couple of bongos. Bongos are nicknamed the ghosts of the forest. They're rarely ever seen or heard. Their horns are tilted backwards to help them move soundlessly through the tangled underbrush here in the forest. We're going to head on over to our second stop on our safari, which is the Safi River. The Safi River is home to aquatic and semi-aquatic animals who love the water. So we're going to be looking out along the shore and down below the surface as well. We'll see what we can find that might be swimming around up ahead here. On your right, you're going to see some larger white birds. They're called pink-backed pelicans. When they get their names from their pink backs that they get just during their mating season, almost like they're blushing. Their wingspan is about 7 to 9 feet wide, so they are some pretty large birds, even though they're some of the smaller of the pelican species. To your right, you're going to see 2 Nile hippopotamus that are sunbathing on the shore there. Now, typically, hippos will look like this on the left here. They stay submerged in the water for the majority of their day. So if we're sitting on the left-hand side, if you just look to your left, you will see a lot more of those hippos. So you don't have to stand to get a better view on the right or on the left, too. Now, these guys can hold their breath for a really long time. They'll stay fully submerged below the surface of the water for the majority of their day to keep nice and cool. They actually don't swim super well. What they do is they sink all the way down to the very bottom of the water. They're going to walk and run around down there. They even sleep fully submerged in the water, automatically coming up for air in their sleep.
That's 2.
Nile hippos are herbivores. They'll eat anywhere between 85 to 100 pounds of vegetation every single day. And they are some really territorial animals. So if something else is in their space and they don't want it there, they're going to chase it away. They can run pretty fast too. They would even outrun a truck like this one. Coming up on our left here, you're going to see some Nile crocodiles along that shore. These guys are really strong, really powerful animals that can also be super gentle and maternal when they need to be, especially around the time that their eggs will hatch. They're going to pick up their eggs in their mouth, roll them around, tap them a little bit with their teeth, and it helps to promote really healthy hatching for their babies. Crocodiles are cold-blooded animals, so they spend a lot of their time just basking in the sun to help regulate their body temperature, keep them healthy. Nile crocodiles, those guys back there are the largest crocodilians in all of Africa. They usually grow up to be about 16 feet in length. And we are going to head on over to the savannah now. This is probably the moment that most of you have been waiting for. The savannah is home to some pretty famous animals, lots of favorites out here. It also hosts millions of other migratory animals that you might not have ever heard of before. They do all play a pretty important role in this ecosystem. Now, the savannas is a pretty fragile one, so if one small thing is moved out of place or destroyed, it could cause that entire ecosystem to collapse. This is why it's just really important that we learn as much as we can, not only about our favorite animals or the ones that we recognize out here, but it's important we learn as much as we can about all the animals who call the savanna their home.
Bless you. It was ravaging.
Now, already from up here, we can tell that this is just a very different space from the forest and the riverside. All of this plant life is really spread out, so things like camouflage don't really work too well for these animals. Instead, they're going to be hanging out in some larger groups or herds. Especially in such a wide open space like this, there's just a lot of power in numbers out here.
Oh, the zebras are out. There's a zebra over there.
Oh yeah, the zebras are out.
We didn't see zebras last time. Those are my favorite.
We can definitely start to recognize a lot of the animals that are out here, especially those really tall ones that are further away and these really striky ones that are closer to us. So we're going to get nice and close to a lot of the animals that live out here.
It's a baby zebra. It's a baby zebra.
If you stand up there, in a minute you'll see it.
There's two babies. Oh my gosh, they're cute.
You are going to see a group of zebras to your right. A group of zebras is usually called a dazzle.
Oh.
We're also going to see a couple of these really cool tan-colored antelope here to your right. These are elands. Elands are some of the largest antelope of the savanna. They can be about 6 feet tall at their shoulders. They have a little bit of extra skin on their neck, and it's called a dewlap, and that helps to regulate their body temperature, keep them healthy. Now, actually, this species of zebras that we see here to your right is the only species of zebra that also has a dewlap. So they have a little bit of extra skin on their neck too. Same thing, helps to regulate their body temperature. These are Hartman's mountain zebras, so they are some of the smaller of the zebra species, a little more compact to traverse those different mountain ranges. Just like how we have our very own fingerprints, zebras have their very own stripe patterns, so babies are able to memorize mom's patterns within the first day of their life. It's going to help them really quickly and easily identify mom, especially since within an hour they're usually walking and running around, so they go out to join the dazzle for their protection, so they definitely need to know who mom is and where they can get their food pretty quickly.
Dogs are out over there.
On our left here, you can see a den. Just to the right of this den, you're also going to be seeing a couple of African painted dogs. Now, a lot of people will confuse them for a different type of animal. They don't have a guess at what they get confused for pretty frequently. Yeah, I heard it back there. Hyenas are actually very different animals in their very own hyena family, but these guys are canines like your dog at home. African painted dogs are the most successful hunters in all of Africa. They're going to chase down their prey together as a pack until their prey gives out of exhaustion, giving them a higher success rate than bigger cats or other predators that hunt around out here. Definitely better hunters than the hyenas they get confused for too. All the way in the back corner, you're going to see some really tall, sharp horns. Those are sable antelope. We've named them the emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve because in every single fight or flight situation, they'll always choose to defend their own and fight. All of these gray animals that we see out here, these are wildebeest. And you're going to see a lot more of them scattered around the savannah too. The reason you'll see way more wildebeest out here than any other animal is because they are the second most densely populated land mammals on the planet. They're second only to us, to human beings. The largest recorded group of wildebeest was about 1.5 million of them just hanging out in one group. Now, their migrations are very important to this ecosystem. They'll migrate about 500 to 1,000 miles in just one journey. That migration is going to kick up a lot of this dirt, turn over a lot of the grass, and help it to grow longer and stronger, which means that there's more food for them to enjoy, but also more food for all the other grazing animals out here to enjoy as well. So they benefit everybody. We're starting to get a little bit closer to those very recognizable animals, right? We're going to be seeing some of these Maasai giraffe up nice and close. You can see giraffes from pretty far away. They do grow up to be about 20 feet tall. Their necks have the exact same number of bones that you and I have in ours. Theirs is obviously much larger and arranged quite differently. Now, these are Maasai giraffe. We can tell just based on the patterns of their darker spots. They usually have some jagged edges to those spots, whereas other species of giraffes will have those smoother edges. Typically, giraffes are going to sleep for around 30 to 90 minutes of their day, and then the rest of their day they'll spend it eating. They've got those really long necks and some very long prehensile tongues. Prehensile is a fancy scientific word for finger legs, so their tongue wraps all the way around the branch and strips it off its leaves. Now, they don't just eat all day because they're super hungry. These guys are ruminants, which is just a very fun word for having multiple chambers to their stomachs. So that means that eating or chewing something all day long is actually going to help with their digestion and their metabolism. So it helps to keep them nice and healthy. That's why they typically eat all day. Their tongues have a dark purple color to them that they're born with, and scientists think that that could be they're kind of like a sunscreen for them. That way they can eat all day. They don't have to worry about a sunburn. Now up ahead here, we're seeing some trees have been toppled over, and this is a pretty good indication that we're headed into elephant country. African elephants are the largest of their species, and they reach really high into trees to eat their food. If they can't reach the tippy top, they'll just topple the entire tree over using their body weight and tusks. Now, elephants live together in groups too. They're part of a matriarchal society, so there's one female in charge of everyone. Usually when males hit around their teenagers, they go out to join a bachelor herd, and they stay there till they're ready to start their own families. To your right here, we can actually tell that this is one of the older males of the herd. The reason that we can tell is just based on his size. This guy's absolutely huge. I would say probably early 40s based on his size there. Now, in those bachelor herds, there's usually 3 to 5 males that are there. One of them's a little bit older, like this guy. He's the teacher or the mentor. He'll teach the younger elephants the social skills they'll need to start their own families.
Between the bushes.
In the bushes up ahead here, you might see a couple of mandrills moving around. They're the largest of the monkey species. Really well known for the brighter colors on their faces and on their bottoms, a bright blue and a bright red color.
Disappeared.
Now, we are still in elephant country. We're going to keep an eye out for the rest of the herd. We're going to be looking for either the rest of this bachelor herd or the family herd. Typically, the older females and the younger babies are going to be hanging out with the matriarch. She's the oldest and the wisest of the group, and she's the one in charge because she's got a really amazing memory. She can remember where every single watering hole that she's ever been to in her entire life is located, even if she hasn't been there since she was a little girl. But she'll lead the entire herd around with her, and they go out to find the best spot to cool off out there on the savannah. So we'll be keeping an eye out for more elephants up ahead here. Now, every single day it gets a little bit more difficult to find elephants in the wild, and that's just because their habitats are being threatened pretty heavily by the mining of a mineral called coltan. And you may not have ever heard of coltan before, but more than likely you're hanging on to a piece of it right now. It's found in most of our smart devices. It helps our batteries keep their charge. So the best thing that we can do for elephants is just recycle our old devices when we're done with them. It'll cut back on the need for mining up more of that coltan. It looks like up ahead through the trees here we did catch up with some female elephants. We can tell just kind of based on their size. They're a little bit smaller than what that fully grown male was back there. Now, they are pretty spread out from him, but they can all still communicate with one another. A lot of people think that the main form of communication for elephants is their trumpeting sound. But more often than not, elephants are communicating using a series of infrasonic sounds. Those are sounds that we can't hear with our own ears, but elephants are able to hear them from miles and miles away. It even looks like they have a couple of their calves out here with them as well, especially that little one up ahead there. And we can see them eating away at all of that hay over there, picking it up with their trunks. Their trunks are super helpful for them to eat their food and drink their water. They're going to pick up a lot of that water with their trunks too and throw it all over their bodies, and then they can coat themselves in dirt or mud, and it works kind of like a sunscreen for their sensitive skin during those really warm sunny days. It's also pretty easy for elephants to keep cool with their ears. They're going to fan themselves with their ears, and it cools them off at about 15 degrees. It's kind of like a built-in air conditioner on their neck.
Oh my gosh.
On our left here, we're gonna see a flamboyance of flamingos. That's what a group of them all together is called. These are greater flamingos. They're the largest and lightest color pink of their species. You'll see a couple of them, especially this one that's kind of walking around by itself out here. This is actually a baby flamingo. It's almost fully grown in size. It's about 10 months old, I would say, based on that size. But it takes flamingos about 1 to 2 years to reach their full pink coloration. They get their colors from their diets. They like to eat lion shrimp. It's rich in a protein called beta-carotene, which is something that you can find in other foods too. Things like sweet potatoes and carrots. It gives those foods their orange color. We're making our way over to a different part of the savannah where we're going to see a little bit more plant life out here. Also looks like this mud pit was pretty recently stomped around it, so we're going to be keeping an eye out for some muddier animals in the area too. You're going to be seeing an ostrich here to your left-hand side. Ostriches are the world's tallest land birds. They can't fly, but they do run really fast, around 35 to 40 miles per hour through the savannah. They don't use their wings to fly, but if they're sprinting through the savannah, they can throw out one of those wings and turn on a dime, almost like a boat using a rudder. Wow. We can actually tell that she's female with those light gray feathers, just like any other type of bird. The more vibrant colors are males, lighter tones are females. Down the road to your right, there are a few very muddy white rhinos. White rhinos will use the mud as a sunscreen and as a bug repellent. That way they won't get any bad bug bites out here. But if we were to give them a bath, wash away all the mud that they're covered in, you'd see they're more of a darker gray color. White rhinos are not named for their coloration. They're named from the mistranslation of the Afrikaans word for wide, which is in reference to their wide square jaws that they have. Other species of rhinos have pointed jaws and pointed upper lips to help them be foragers, but white rhinos live on the savannah, so they're grazing animals. Their wide square jaw helps them eat their food, and that's actually where they get their names from too. On our left here, kind of stalking around, you can see one laying down, a couple more moving around up ahead here. These are cheetahs. Cheetahs are the world's fastest land mammals. They run 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. They reach those high speeds because they weigh about 100 pounds and their claws never fully retract, so they can use them kind of like soccer cleats.
There's another one up here.
Now, because their claws don't fully retract, that's our first hint that cheetahs are not a part of the big cat family. Big cats like lions and tigers, they can retract their claws. Big cats also have the ability to roar. Cheetahs do not. They're going to use chuffs, chirps, and meows to communicate with one another. So they kind of just sound like your house cat. But cheetahs do most of their hunting during the daytime while the sun's up, whereas bigger cats will sleep all day and do their hunting at night when they can actually see a little bit better. Now, as you round the corner here, we actually are going to see a couple of lions hanging out on top of these copy rocks here. You're going to see a male lion having a nap up there. You can see he's pretty young too, just by how scraggly his little mane is. They're not quite fully grown yet. You can also see what looks like a couple females on the other side of these rocks here. So we're going around the corner. Now I know that the song says that the lion sleeps tonight. They actually sleep upwards of about 16 to 21 hours a day while the sun's up. They do this because during the daytime their eyesight's just about as good as ours, but at night it improves by about 6 to 8 times. So they sleep all day, they gain up all their energy. That way when they go out to do their hunting and protecting, they can do that to the best of their abilities when their eyesight's a little bit better. The females of the pride, these two right here, they're the hunters of the pride. They're going to go out and do all the hunting while the males stay back to protect the cubs and the older females. Pretty early in the morning and then later on in the evening time is when lions will get a little bit more vocal. When a lion roars, you can hear them from 5 miles away, and that's because they're announcing to the rest of the savannah that this is their territory. They like to be very vocal about that.
Typical males sleeping, the females are awake.
Through the bushes on your left, you might see a couple of warthogs hanging out just on top of that burrow there. And the most famous warthog that we all know is Pumbaa from the Lion King. Pumbaa in Swahili, that word means foolish. He's a very funny guy, but they're very smart animals. They back themselves into their burrows at night to expose their tusks. So even while they sleep at night, predators know to stay away from them, so they do know how to work smarter, not harder. They're definitely not Pumbaa. Now over here hanging out with the white rhinos, you can see some really cute fluffy antelope. Those are water buck. They're typically found near permanent water sources, drinking A lot of it too is where they're going to get their names. Now I want to talk more about those white rhinos we see there to your right. They're southern white rhinos. They're the most stable of the remaining rhino species. Their cousins, the northern white rhinos, are really not as lucky. There's actually only 2 of those left, and they are both unfortunately female.
Oh, wow.
All 5 remaining species of rhinos are being poached for their horns. Their horns are made of keratin, and you might not know this, but keratin is the exact same substance as your fingernails and hair. A lot of people think that it has medicinal value. They can use it as a medicine, and that is absolutely not true, right? That'd be like chewing on your fingernails and hair to cure cold. So the best thing that we can do for rhinos is spread information. The more people that know about them and the daily dangers that they face, way more people are going to care about their conservation, which is super important right now. We are going to swing on by the Warden's host on our way out of the reserve today. She set aside some land for herself and some Nigerian dwarf goats out here. These guys are super cute and playful, a little bit smaller than other goat species, but very helpful. They're dairy goats. The Warden's going to offer them food, shelter, veterinary care. In return, we either keep their milk or sell it in a market. Either way, it's a really great example of how humans and animals coexist. As we exit the reserve today, I want to leave you guys with a little bit of a challenge. Walt Disney himself said that conservation is not just the business of a few people, it's a matter that concerns us all. Probably a lesser known fact about Walt Disney, he loved conservation, loved to share the magic of nature, especially through film. Not just through cute animated animals, he was the first person to put a storyline to a nature documentary in 1948. We do not have to go out and make movies every day to help the planet. We can do little things like reducing, reusing, and recycling, which is not something new, right? We've heard it for years, but it really does work. You can reduce the amount of water you use just by shutting off the faucet when we brush our teeth. We can buy reusable products and recycle things like paper, plastic, and aluminum. We even talked about our old devices earlier. Now more than ever, it is super important that we're taking care of the planet. We don't just inherit the earth from our parents, we're borrowing it from the next generation. We want to leave it better than we found it for them. Here on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, we like to say that what we see with our eyes, we value with our hearts. And we did see some really beautiful, really amazing animals out there today. I hope you guys have come to value them just as much as we do here in Harambe. I hope you keep that with you as you go to see other live animals from all around the world. I hope one of them inspires you to do something a little bit different in your everyday life that will impact their lives positively forever. Go ahead and take a look around, gather up those personal belongings. We don't want to accidentally forget something out here. If you didn't get the chance to see your favorite animal, I do always suggest coming back for another safari. No 2 are ever the same. If you want to check out other live animals, you're definitely in the perfect park for that. If you stay right here in Africa, there's a walking trail called the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail, where you'll see gorillas, hippos, and a bird aviary. Now in Harambe, we really don't like to say goodbye. That's just way too sad and it's way too final. So instead we say Kwaherini, which in our village means to go well. So my friends, Kwaherini, go well, go a little wild. Most importantly though, go out there and make a difference for wildlife. I know that you can. Once again, friends, my name is Mickey. That is Mickey like the mouse. I'm from Michigan. Thank you so much for coming around the reserve with me today. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you learned something new. If any of you are wilderness explorers, this is the Simba 1, Simba like the lion, and the number 1. You'll need that code word for your badge today. Simba 1. Got it. On your right, watch your